Hello friends, Mr. E here, and this video is a compilation of some of my most powerful Psyker builds. Psyker is a cracked class, and if you have a modicum of skill, you can take it and multiply it manyfold and get some absolutely crazy results on this character. This guide is going to showcase a number of different ways to do that will demolish all difficulties in the game, including Havoc. And so what you'll find is in the description, there are timestamps that will lead you to the different builds, including a small snippet that explains generally what the build is about or what it's designed to do. And then where relevant, I've linked to the longer form video from whenever I posted that as a full build in the past. Note though that some of those might have had a few changes that I have updated to the current version, and all of the most current versions will be found in this video. So treat this video as the de facto source for all talent tree points and perks, etc. Anyway, I think that's about all I have to tell you. If you find this video to be helpful, it helps you in any way, you can help me out in the free way by, of course, subscribing to the channel, liking the video, or you can help me out in the membership way by becoming a channel member and getting all sorts of benefits, including one additional build that is not included in this video. Anyway, thanks for watching and enjoy. So this is what I would consider the Havoc Meta Psyker. This is probably the strongest build or orientation of build that is going to push in Havoc. That is just because Havoc is intent on killing you, and you need a lot of damage and you need some survivability. The most important thing in Havoc generally is keeping your team alive, and of course, to that end, we are using Bubble. Bubble is a godsend in Havoc, especially if you happen to get a seed where there's a bunch of gunners. It can make or break the run, and I cannot tell you the number of times where a Bubble has come in clutch. So it is something that I think will be very, very useful to you, especially if you are maybe a middle skill Psyker. Bubble is going to be, Bubble plus Flamestaff here is going to be incredibly impactful. And at higher levels of play, this build can do as much damage as many other classes can do in terms of, like, you know, if they respect entirely into DPS, you can do that much damage and then also still be providing Bubble and utility to the team. So very, very useful in that regard. Now to make this build, we are going to start with a dueling sword here. As I said, we are going all out on this one. We want Uncanny Strike and Riposte. Riposte is on here so that we are guaranteeing we are getting crits when we are in melee. Crits are incredibly important for dodging range attacks and regenerating our toughness, as well as getting some extra damage on this build. Then we'll go for Carapace and Unyielding for our perks, and then finally Mobility is the dump stat here, and yeah, Uncanny and Riposte. Uncanny is just here because we need that to kill Crushers, and remember, you can put Flamestaff on those Crushers and then hit them with Uncanny, and then everything will start to die a lot faster. Speaking of, we've got the Inferno Staff, aka Flamestaff here, with that minimum warp resistance, or rather 60 warp resist. Then for perks, range crit chance 5% and 25% to flak armored enemies. Then for blessings, Blaze Away and Warp Nexus. This is the build that you will have every single time when you're using Inferno Staff. It's just the best setup. Then for our curios, we want triple toughness here, combat ability regen, revive speed, and extra toughness. You are welcome to swap something for that extra toughness, but I think that just stacking toughness on this class is generally good enough. You definitely want that combat ability regen and that revive speed. You are one of the most useful ult spammers in the game. Then we're going to go to the talent side. Up here at the top, we're going to take Metal and Perfect Timing. This is why we are stacking those crits, because we need to make certain that we are getting them, so we're replenishing and we're getting that extra movement speed. Then we'll take Battle Meditation. This is going to help us keep our peril a little bit lower. Very, very valuable when you do not have Vent with which to get rid of all your peril. Because we have Bubble, we need to make certain that our peril is not capped too often, because every second we spend venting is a second we are not spreading fire. then Perilous Combustion, which will allow us to cascade, killing just a few enemies into killing an entire screen worth of enemies, because these Soul Blaze stacks can jump to nearby enemies and then stack over the normal cap. We come down here and we will grab Brain Rupture with Kinetic Flare. Kinetic Flare being a very powerful individual talent here. This will actually trigger on the ticks of your fire. So if you have like a dog run by you and you can get one tick of fire on him and Kinetic Flare is about to come up, when Kinetic Flare does refresh, finally, the dog will be zapped and killed instantly. And so this is a very, very potent thing to be able to do. And these bolts are actually quite large in terms of their damage and their stagger potential, so it can stagger certain enemies out of animations like Crushers, and it's very handy when that happens as well. We'll come down here and we will grab Malefic Momentum. This is just going to incentivize us to swap back and forth between our sword and our Blaze Staff, our Force Staff. We want to sort of spread the fire out there, and then while the fire is spread out, start going in there and chopping enemies, cutting their heads off. Remember that when we are getting headshots, we are stacking Uncanny Strike, and so this will help that fire to deal better damage against your Crushers and your armored enemies of that sort. And this is just going to scale off of both. So very nice. Soul Drinker here, again, more crit chance and more toughness when we're killing enemies with Soul Blaze, which is pretty much every enemy. Here's a great way that we can deal extra damage to large packs of enemy. Empiric Shock. Your left click attacks, the little burst of fire, is going to stack up to 30% extra warp damage taken on those enemies, and it lasts for 10 seconds. So if you've got a pack of enemies or even a boss in front of you, just left clicking them 5 times is going to stack 30% damage taken, and then they will take 30% extra damage from all the direct damage from your warp abilities such as Kinetic Flare. They'll take 30% extra from every tick of the Soul Blaze and from the Flamestaff itself, which is very powerful. Wildfire here, just spreading more stacks of Soul Blaze around the arena, just helps to keep Soul Blaze on more targets at a time, and it does actually add up a lot in terms of getting rid of lots of small enemies, which is a #1 thing we should be kind of trying to clear space for our team. Then we'll take Seer's Presence. Again, you have a free choice here. You can take Seer's Presence, or I recommend Prescience as your second choice here, but 10% cooldown reduction is probably the best aura, just hands down, but that you might already have someone else taking this. Then we'll take Psykinetics Aura, Empathic Evasion into one with the Warp, and then finally we'll grab Telekine Shield and Telekine Dome with Sanctuary, of course. We'll come all the way down here and grab Warp Rider and Vulnerable Minds, which is going to help us to deal some additional damage. And then over here on the left side, we'll take the range damage boost into Puppet Master. We want that extra coherency aura because that's going to help us to just spread our coherency, keep people getting the values of our traits. And then we don't really need Quell Speed as well. And then Warp Siphon into Warp Battery, and finally in Fire Reborn. So we're going to keep lots of cooldown going on here, and use your bubble on cooldown. Do not save bubble is what my recommendation is here. The cooldown is short enough with all the things this class has combined that you can just be placing bubbles across the arena whenever they come up. They last for quite a long time. They last for 25 seconds, and you'll be able to place probably 2 of them in that time, and populating the arena with a bunch of bubbles that your players can run to when things turn south is quite nice. It's nice to have a little bit of a respite when situations get kind of hairy. So there is that build, and here is some gameplay of tackling Havoc. Leave me alone. I swear I'm not doing anything. You're slowly magician, sir.
6 is 3.
Let's go inside. This is the good stuff. Now we have unlimited Smite Psyker. Now the unlimited comes with an asterisk these days. On launch, the unlimited Smite literally meant unlimited Smite and you really couldn't mess it up. These days you will need to be a little bit aware of what your cooldown is, but still, we are smiting a kind of probably inappropriate amount. Like way too much for the game to be balanced at all, but hey. This is how they chose to balance the game, not my problem. We will first start out here by talking about the melee weapon and the range weapon, which we won't be using a whole lot here. I want to first point out that we are going to be using the Elise Blaze Force sword here. The reason we are using this sword is because this sword is really good at keeping us safe when things go bad. One of the things that can kill us with Smite is bosses. Bosses aren't affected by Smite. They don't give a fuck. So they can run up on you and murderize you. This will keep you safe. If the twins go on you, just block, no problem. If you got a captain on you or like a you know, whatever it might be, just block and get yourself through that arena. This will also allow you to kind of close the gap or get yourself around a situation where most of the enemies are ranged and are too far away for your Smite to reach. Now, we like the Elise here because the heavy attack is a big wide sweep, and I'll show you why we want that in a second. But you can take high mobility here. The first target is probably you should probably max that out. I don't know why I keep having this build in this weapon on my builds, but First target can be maximized and mobility can be 60. It really doesn't matter a whole lot because the direct damage on the sword really isn't what we're all about here. We really want the perks of Carapace Unyielding and then Deflector and Uncanny Strike for our blessings. For a ranged weapon, a heavy last pistol is going to be just great here because we are not going to be spending any time using our staff really. The heavy last pistol is just good because it allows us to make picks on targets that are really inaccessible or not damaged by our smite. So like a boss, a boss is a really good target where the smite does almost nothing, but the heavy last pistol does a ton of damage to bosses, especially like monstrosities, and then snipers and things of that sort that are too far away for our smite to reach. Just go ahead and shoot them with the las pistol, with Infernus and Dum Dum, Unyielding, and Flak as your perks. Then we'll come over here and talk about the curios. Wow, the same curios as you've seen before. Triple toughness, triple extra toughness, triple combat ability regeneration, and then triple revive speed for allies. Over here on the talent side, we're going to start on the top left here with Soul Stealer into Perilous Combustion. Then we will take the toughness boost with Smite and both of these modifiers. Now the first one is obvious, Enfeebled. Enemies electrocuted by you take 10% increased base damage from all sources. What this does is it enables you to, just add extra damage to enemies out there. But what this other mark here does, or this other node here does, is gives your heavy attacks electrocution to the enemies that you hit. And this is very nice with this sword because this sword does a nice wide sweep, and this will allow you just to get some extra damage in there and clear out any small hordes that are near you. It's very important to not waste smites, to not waste charges of smites on just inconsequential enemies. So if you've been surrounded by like 5 small poxwalkers, dispatch them with your force sword doing a heavy attacks here, and your charge strike will actually electrocute them and kill them very easily. Then we can come down here and we'll take Malefic Momentum, another great way to scale our damage here, because if you just happen to get some melee kills and then swap over to your zap, you'll do some extra damage, but really not all that important. What we really want here is Wildfire, because Perilous Combustion can kill specialists and elites and pop them and make those stacks spread. Then we can spread it a little bit further with Wildfire, but because this build is so weird and so funky, almost none of these talents matter like at all in any way. So yeah, we can just kind of move on past this point with those 2 nodes. Then we will grab Seer's Presence. Very important that we have maximum cooldown reduction here. Every second matters because it will actually end up making us be able to go infinite sometimes. Then we'll take Psykinetics Aura here with Immaterial Focus, a very, very good node for this build because we're going to be spending so much of our time at 100% peril. That's going to give us stun immunity. And stun immunity is peak on Smite, because if you get hit, if you've ever played Smite before, if you get hit even one time, you are going to get knocked out of Smite, you're going to lose your channel, and that's going to let all those enemies free. It's going to be a bad time. So by staying stun immune, we cannot be forced to drop our Smite. We will then take One with the Warp and Anticipation. One of the only things you can do while you're actually smiting is dodging. And so this will allow us to dodge, and that's going to be how you move and get closer to more enemies or get farther from enemies and spread the smite around. We'll come down here and we will take Scrier's Gaze and then Reality Anchor and then finally Warp Unbound. One thing that is important to note with this Scrier's Gaze, because we are going Reality Anchor here, this is going to make it so that we can quell better and lower the peril that we generate. We want to keep ourselves from overloading for as long as possible because that stacks damage buffs. So if you can activate Scrier's Gaze and then kind of quell for a little while before you start in the combat, so you can get some extra damage stacked up before you really get into blasting, it'll increase your damage overall. And then we'll come down here and we will grab ourselves over on the left. Let's do first Puppet Master here for that extra radius for your Coherency Aura. Now this is really important. We need that extra radius because of this talent right here, this one right here, Psykinetics Aura. We need to make certain that we are getting credit for every single elite or specialist that is killed by our team. So our team might be a little ways ahead of us, and getting those kills on those elites and specialists, this will help us to get that credit and therefore get the cooldown from Psykinetics Aura. Then we will do Solidity and then Empiric Resolve, which is going to help us quell keep our peril even lower. You could alternatively, I suppose, go for something like the toughest damage reduction, but I think that the quell speed here is actually quite important, because what we want to do before we start smiting, every time we start to smite with one of our empowered smites, you must drain all of your peril out. Then we will come here and do Warp Rider, then Peril Resistance, and then finally Empowered Psionics with the overpowering souls and charged up keystone modifiers. And what this allows us to do is guarantee getting an empowered Psionics charge on an elite kill, which is pretty quality. And then after that, only once you have those empowered Psionics charges are you going to be powered up to do your smite. Look how much damage that gives. Triple damage, 50% faster spread between enemies. You want to make certain that this smite gets unleashed and that you hold it for as long as humanly possible. So let your smite carry all the way up until you're at 50% peril, then use Scryer's Gaze to drop back to 0%, and then go all the way up again, and then carry over for another 10 seconds. That is a lot of smiting. And every time you use your smite, even for 1 millisecond, you will lose 1 charge of empowered psionics. So make certain you are using these very wisely and judiciously, because once you lose all of them, it becomes very hard to get them back because smite does way less damage. But that's all the tips I have. If you want to see some very exhilarating gameplay, but I mean, honestly, it wins games. If that's what you're interested in doing, then you should check this out right here. Enjoy. Oh, then I guess I moved. You. This is the good stuff. How come Auric has like a more even distribution of enemies than Havoc? Because Havoc is just a mistake. I think we're about to get twinned. I think I heard a shield. Yep. Beat her to death before she gets a chance. This is your Force Greatsword melee Psyker. Just a very, very formidable melee archetype that exists in the game right now. Super, super powerful. Probably my favorite melee class to play in the game right now. Honestly, we are going to be zipping around super fast. We are carrying a massive Greatsword that can also channel energy waves. And yeah, this thing is very fun, very aggressive, and does tons of damage. We are going to start out here with the Blaze Force Greatsword with Unyielding and Flak. This weapon does exceptionally good damage against bosses and captains. Flak is for captains, headshotting them with our stab attack. Unyielding is going to be for the normal bosses. We could prioritize Crushers here, but I tend to just kind of not engage with Crushers too much unless I absolutely have to. This weapon dispatches them in 4 hits anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. We'll dump defenses here and we'll go for Riposte and Unstable Power, which will scale our strength, and Riposte will make certain that we are guaranteeing those crits. Then we'll come down here and we'll grab our ranged weapon, which will be the Heavy Las Pistol here. Now, this might seem like a little bit of an odd choice, but the Heavy Las Pistol is a great weapon for a couple of reasons on this build. First of all, it gives us a ranged option that is very precise and long range. It allows us to just pick targets at very long range, and because we have a high critical chance, we can get a ton of damage out of this just repeatedly blasting. A lot of the stats that work very well with the Blaze Force Greatsword also stack like crazy on the Heavy Las Pistol, so do not be afraid if you got an annoying enemy like a boss who's just, like a burgle or something that won't let you get near and he keeps doing that stupid tail slap. Just pull this thing out and shoot him in the weak spot like 15 times and he'll be certainly dead. This thing can also, of course, hit crits, and therefore it's going to give us invincibility against range damage for 1 second every time we do, and so this is a good way to engage on enemies because this is also a weapon that we are going to maximize the mobility stat on and be as fast as we humanly can. We are going to take Unyielding and Flak here, and then we are going to go for Infernus and Dum Dum as our blessings for high burn damage as well as direct damage. We'll take Toughness, Toughness, Toughness with triple combat ability regen, triple revive speed, and triple extra toughness on the Curios. Over here on the talent side, we're going to go on the top right side with Warp Expenditure and Metal. Then we'll take Perfect Timing, Battle Meditation, and Perilous Combustion. Coming down to the left, we will grab ourselves Brain Rupture and then Kinetic Flare. And this Kinetic Flare is actually quite nice. This can proc off of course, just melee attacks and your range attacks, but it can also proc off of the Warp Slash, the Warp Shock Slash that your sword can do. Remember that the Greatsword, Force Greatsword, charges up on every kill with this energy, and then you can unleash basically a wind slash, and that wind slash can go through terrain and walls. So if you know that there is some sort of target that's hiding behind a wall from you, at like an elite, you can slash the wall and hit them, and then this target, this effect will trigger and kill them. We'll come over here and we'll grab Malefic Momentum. Malefic Momentum will give you extra 25% damage on your warp attacks, which includes your Warp Shock Slash, your Kinetic Flare Burst, pretty much anything that has to deal with like Perilous Combustion, all that stuff. That stuff is going to deal more damage based on how many kills you get with the melee portion of your weapon, and vice versa. More kills with those effects, Kinetic Flare and Warp Shock Slash, are going to stack up your melee damage, so you want to be using them both often. My rule of thumb is that every time I get myself one stack or one portion of my sword's energy, I go ahead and unleash it and get at least just a couple of kills in the bank. And if you are remembering to do that routinely, you'll keep this high, and this is a ton of damage when you can keep it optimally stacked. Lightning attack speed, and then warp splitting with by Crack of Bone. And then we'll come down here and grab Prescience. You can also grab Seer's Presence, but I think Prescience is probably the better option here because crits are so good with this build. We'll take Psychonetics Aura, Empathic Evasion, and then Anticipation, and come down here and grab Scryer's Gaze. Scryer's Gaze, we will take Warp Speed, which will make us insanely fast when combined with our Las Pistol, and then we'll take Precognition, which is going to stack up a ton of finesse damage and also make certain that our weak spot kills are going to give us credit towards this, which will stack our damage even faster. One thing you need to be aware of, though, because we are not using Warp Unbound here, is that when you hit 100% peril, you cannot use your Warp Shock Slash until you have quelled a little bit of peril. If you use it when you're at 100% peril, you'll overload. So you need to be careful. Just to watch out for that, unless you of course have Scryer's Gaze up already. Then we'll come down here and we will go to the left first and do Vulnerable Minds into Warp Rider. Then over here on the right we'll take Kinetic Deflection, which allows us to block as we're rezzing allies for pretty much free. Then movement speed boost into, finally, Disrupt Destiny with the Lingering Influence modifier here, which will allow us to keep these crazy buffs and stack them to nearly infinity. And all of the buffs that Disrupt Destiny provides and all of the buffs that Scryer's Gaze provides are an absolute metric fuck ton of damage, and they contribute to both the Las Pistol and the Force Greatsword in some pretty absurd ways. So if you want to see what those absurd ways are, check out the footage here. Fat cash rewards. And of course, whenever there are events, hit this hard. Oh, fuck. I love rotten armor. Yee. I love rotten armor. This class is balanced. Ah! Oh god, is there fucking crushers behind me? Ah, die! Holy shit. Yeah, that it's like a weird, like, I don't even know what it is. It's like you're hitting like cracking a crab claw that's made out of metal or something. I guess, I mean, maybe it's an appropriate noise, like in, like, kind of, like, to play the fiction of what it's actually supposed to be, which is like a crust of like rotten metal. But it's just not a very good video game sound, you know what I mean? There's got to be a sweet spot that we can hit between lore accurate sound and good video game sound design. Gotta figure that out. Oh, what are the modifiers here? It's red. It's red and oh my god. Oh, I didn't realize there's a freaking Demonos right beside me. I'm about to go down. Holy shit. I was getting texted right there. That's just pink, right? They heal their nearby allies. Removing Havoc forever? Now, as long as they have another endgame, like, difficult mode like that to add in its place, I wouldn't mind removing Havoc and Maim only, or whatever you call it. But, like, Havoc serves a pretty valuable role. Well, it could serve a pretty valuable role. The problem is that they took a mode that could very easily be used to, like, have its own set of balance. This is something I actually didn't go into in the video. It's like, okay, this is a mode that only sweats play, right? So you could go about it in two different ways. You could either go about it and make it like, okay, this is more similar to normal games now, and then the balance would be similar to normal games, and so you wouldn't have to like stress so much about having two different game modes and all their, you know, associated systems. Or you could make it a completely separate game mode where, because only, like it is, because only sweats play it, and then you can have a completely different set of balance expectations for it. Like, just go ahead and make it so that in Havoc, like, damage over time effects are 1/4 of what they normally are. Where are enemies? Oh, they're there. This is the Permacaster build. If you are looking for a build that can flex any staff but also can cast nigh infinitely, this is a very, very powerful build. I'm using Voidblast with this build, but you could simply use any other staff, and instead I think Voidblast is one of the best ones to be able to spam with very little regard for what you are doing peril wise, and just being able to repeatedly blast you know, grenades in terms of the damage they do, and the staggering effect is going to have quite a profound effect on whether or not the enemies stay alive. So we are split somewhere between being a DPS and being a support, because we can utilize our main form of dealing damage here, which we're spending 90% of the time with our staff out and just blast and blast and blast in order to just stop every enemy dead in their tracks. Now this one does require a little bit of skill, because you have to be able to land your Void Blast or whatever staff you're doing, and we are not going to be as protected as you might be on a build that has bubble, but it is very fun and it is very effective, and it would definitely carry in any game, you know, depending on your skill level, right? We'll start off here with the Blaze Force Sword. Blaze Force Sword is an incredibly good defensive weapon, but also an offensive weapon with the Demos tier. We can use this to attack and kill Crushers quite easily, because we can stack up Uncanny Strike on the enemy's head. We can use the weapon special in addition to deal quite a lot of damage once we get that Uncanny Strike all stacked up. Go in for that weapon special on their head, blow them up. Deflector here is a really powerful blessing. Being able to tank with our sword into ranged and melee damage is really, really good. And with a build like this that can get caught out because you don't have bubble and you don't have the consistency in terms of dealing crits that the Flamestaff does. Sometimes you're going to get caught out and start getting shot, and this is a great time to pull out the Blaze Force Sword and get the hell out of there. We can dump first target here probably and go with mobility as the lowest possible stat. I don't know why my thing is set up like that, but probably do the 60 mobility and then 80 on first target with Carapace Unyielding on the perks. Down here, we'll take the Voidblast Staff this time. Voidblast is just going to be a nice little consistent burster and blower upper of lots and lots of enemies, and we are going to go for flak and unarmored here. One of our main roles with this staff is just to absolutely destroy any and all chaff, right? So there are smaller enemies like the Ragers and like Shotgunners and like all of the Hordes. We want that stuff to go kablooey, kablam, goodbye, and that means that, yeah, we're going to stack that damage against them. In terms of dealing additional damage, we like Blazing Spirit here with Warp Nexus. Blazing Spirit is going to stack Soul Blazes, and those Soul Blazes will cascade over to every other enemy in their area, which will spread out quite quickly and give us a lot of additional damage. Then Warp Nexus is going to give us up to 20% crit chance, which we are going to be at 90% of the time because we are capping our peril on this build. And we're just casting all day, just constant right-click spamming. We will take our triple toughness curios with triple extra toughness and then triple combat ability regeneration, as well as triple revive speed for allies. Then we'll come over here to the talent side where we're splitting the difference. We're going up here for metal and perfect timing, but we're also coming on the left and going soul stealer and perilous combustion. Then we'll come down here and take brain rupture with kinetic flare just for that extra little bit of damage that can pop on targets. We will take Soul Drinker, then Wildfire, and then the critical chance boost, and then we'll take Seer's Presence. You could also take Prescience. These are both very valid here. I think actually, honestly, Prescience might be a little bit better with this build because we don't necessarily need the cooldown reduction. We much more need to make certain that we are hitting crits. Then we'll take Psychonetic's Aura into one with the Warp, and then down here, we are going to take Scryer's Gaze. Scryer's Gaze is an incredibly powerful ability in this game, as you'll well see. But Scryer's Gaze is really nice because it has this add-on here called Warp Unbound, and Warp Unbound allows us to be overcapped on our peril for 10 seconds without having any explosion happen. Actually, it's technically 11.5 seconds. So once your Scryer's Gaze hits 100%, you will continue to be able to cast for 10 more seconds without ever blowing up. And that is just great because usually during that time, Scryer's Gaze cools down again, and once you finally start to blow up, just press it again and do the whole thing, rinse and repeat. We'll take Kinetic Deflection, which is going to allow us to block tons and tons of enemies, right? You can actually be the tank or be the initiator for the team by just running at them because we have Kinetic Deflection here, which will make it so that we gain peril instead of taking stamina damage, and it's a very low amount of peril, plus Deflector is going to give minus 30% block cost reduction, so we can just kind of walk up to enemies. Warp Rider, and then Vulnerable Minds for extra damage. And then over here, we'll take Puppet Master, Toughest Damage Reduction with Warp Siphon, and then Essence Harvest, Warp Battery, and Psychic Vampire. So these are going to give us lots of toughness over time while we're blasting and killing enemies and gaining these warp charges. If you don't take these, you are probably going to be a little bit low in terms of keeping your toughness sustained. So that's what that's there for. And there you go. This is your ultimate spam casting build. It looks kind of funny in practice. People are like, wait, how are you still casting? But that's the goal, right? Just blowing everything up. And yeah, even on like Havoc, this is very useful, but if you take this into Auric or whatever, you're gonna have a great time because this is just gonna destroy most packs of enemies with very little ease. And let's go ahead and show some gameplay footage here. Surely they won't just turn their guns and shoot me. $16 shotgunners. Oh, there's another 5. And here we have the ultimate Inferno Psyker. This is sort of the big brother to that Meta Psyker. This is where you will ultimately end up going once you feel like you've graduated from dealing with the bubble and being a little bit safer. You can be practically invincible with a build like this because most enemies cannot touch you, you're far too fast, and you're going to be dodging all range attacks thanks to constant critting. Very, very easy to abuse many aspects of the game, and as you get your Psyker skills even higher, a build like this generates exponentially more impact on the game. Very easily dumping 3, I've seen as high as 5 million damage on a Psyker using this build in a game, and so if you want to really flex damage and you want to be the DPS that kills everything, this is sort of the way to start for a Psyker right now. So we're going to start here with the Dueling Sword. The one requirement for whatever weapon you use in your melee here is it must have Uncanny Strike. So you could use, ostensibly, the Blaze Force Sword because it has Uncanny Strike. I think the best two are probably the Dagger and the Dueling Sword because of that mobility factor. We need to be able to use whatever weapon it is to keep ourselves fast and ahead of enemies. We are going to be doing a lot of kiting. Generally, that's one of our major defensive mechanisms against melee enemies, is we are just going to be running them around in a circle where they can't actually catch us, and that is burning them all to death as they try desperately to waddle over to us. You should take Uncanny Strike, as I said there before, and the Riposte is a good little backup there if you're doing the Dueling Sword, with Carapace and Unyielding. And then we will come down here and take the Inferno Staff, as I've addressed before when I had this in builds, range crits, and then Flak Armored with 60 Warp Resist. Then we will do the Warp Nexus and Blaze Away Blessings, mandatory, those are the best ones. We'll take triple toughness, triple bonus toughness, triple combat ability regeneration, and triple revive speed. Have you gotten tired of me saying that yet? And then we'll come over here to the talents. On the talent side of things, we'll start in the top right with Metal and Perfect Timing. Then we'll come over here on the left and take Quietude, Soul Stealer, and Perilous Combustion. We do not need Battle Meditation on this build because we are using Venting Shriek, which means we are not ever really going to be in danger of overcapping on that peril. We will take Brain Rupture into Kinetic Flare. Kinetic Flare, as I mentioned several other times, generates quite a bit of value because it can instantly end a fight against a larger target, and these shocks do a lot against bosses and unarmored, or rather unyielding enemies. So Reapers and Bulwarks will get zapped and almost die from one shock of this. And yeah, these little zaps against bosses can add up to quite a bit of damage over the course of a boss's lifespan. We'll come down here and we'll take Soul Drinker, which is going to give us crit chance and toughness, of course, and then Empiric Shock. Remember, once you have gotten all of the stacks onto your enemy, once your Soul Blaze stacks are maxed out at 16, you will want to start left-clicking them to make those Soul Blaze stacks deal 30% extra damage, or rather, the enemy will take 30% extra damage from those stacks. So that's how you'll want to optimally fight a boss, is just get those stacks up as to the cap as fast as possible, and then just left click spam them from there. We'll come down here and we will take Seer's Presence into Psychonetic's Aura and then Empathic Evasion. Very, very important talent on this build, because this allows us to, as long as we are constantly getting crits, which is very easy to do with the Flamestaff because it can hit like 20 times a second, we can dodge all ranged attacks. So we can actually make a push on the enemies while burning one of them, and that will keep us from getting hit, and then we can turn to the next group of enemies and start flaming on them. And remember that the Flamestaff, for whatever reason, is very highly suppressing to range enemies. So if you've got a dense pack of range enemies, you don't need the bubble. Just run full sprint at them, dodge, slide underneath all their bullets, and then spray them with fire. They'll all get staggered, and you'll hopefully also get crits, so you'll be dodging anything that actually is shooting at you. We'll come down here and we'll grab one with the warp, and then we'll go into Venting Shriek. Venting Shriek is a very, very powerful ultimate ability, and I think a lot of people don't appreciate it. The real way that it is powerful is because of this node right here, Creeping Flames. Creeping Flames adds up to 6 stacks of Soul Blaze to all targets hit, which is a very, very long cone. It's not a very wide cone, but the cone is very long and it goes through walls. And these 6 stacks of Soul Blaze can go past the normal cap. They can go up to 31 stacks, I believe. So if you have capped your Soul Blaze already at 16, 17, and then you hit them with the Venting Shriek, they will actually go up to 22, which does a ton of extra damage. It is a exponential, well, it's not exponential, but it is not a linear scaling. You'll get way more damage out of those 6 stacks than you would otherwise. And 6 stacks is quite a bit. It gets rid of a lot of, on non-Havoc difficulties, it'll kill almost all smaller enemies very easily, just 6 stacks. It can go through walls, it just goes an insane distance, and yeah, great way just to spread the destruction around and get a ton of extra damage out, and of course pushing those extra flame stacks to absurd levels. And the faster you can get cooldowns back, the more you can stack those up even higher. So for in terms of stims, blue stims and yellow stims, definitely our friend with this build. We'll come down here and we will take Vulnerable Minds and then Warp Rider and Warp Ghost. Warp Ghost here is just because we want that passive quelling to be the debuff. We like stamina and toughness replenishment. That's good too. Keeps our toughness high, keeps us able to sprint and sprint slide. But quelling is actually kind of our enemy here. We want to be maintaining our peril quite high, because whenever your Venting Shriek is up, you want your power to be at 80%. 80% is the magic number where this Creeping Flames modifier here applies 6 stacks, and that is what you want to apply every single time. So make certain that you are not venting until you're at 80%, and you should be most of the time at 80% because of Warp Gust. We'll take Puppet Master here, which is again going to give us value because we have the Psychonetics Aura here. We're going to be getting that credited to us. Then we'll take Warp Siphon with Warp Battery, and finally in Fire Reborn, which is going to give us very consistent warp charges for extra cooldown and base damage. And there is everything, guys. Yeah, saying let's go in the hole so we can not get thrown off the edge. Wait, they have a ladder here, or is this ladder broken? Oh, it's broken. Hey, thank you, Drunk Without Power. Alright, come on. Run to us, quick, quick, quick. Oh, thanks. Fuck you. Okay, cool. It just ignores all of my fucking Flamestaff. So I'm here trying to clutch, I'm here trying to crutch on the Flamestaff, and it doesn't even work for me. Fuck. Hey, Soggy Land, my other Soggy.
Out of my mind!
Just give me a chance, will ya? You won't regret it.
I find little evidence to back up your assertion.
Maybe you ain't looking hard enough.
In this case, superficial is most sufficient. Stand shotgunner! Just one step back. Ready back down.
16 shotgunners. Oh, there's another 5. I feel like playing Hive Scum and being like, if I get touched, I fucking die has made me so good at this. I don't know what to tell you about that. Oh my god, I can't believe that didn't hit me there. And finally, we have here the Recon Lasgun Hybrid Assail Psyker. I know that sounds crazy complicated, but I mean, I guess it is in some regards. But this build brings together a lot of cool different mechanics, dealing simultaneous damage with Assail and the Recon Lasgun at the same time, stacking up lots of different buffs, and ends up doing crazy damage. If you are playing an Auric or below, this thing will level the entire map, no problem. And if you are interested in seeing this build, well, I hope you're a channel member, because this is a channel members video only. So there you have it, 5 quality Psyker builds that are certain to help you climb through the ranks and tackle those higher difficulties in Darktide. If these builds help you, or you want to see more builds, you can certainly subscribe to the channel. You'll get much more Darktide content coming your way this year, and I greatly appreciate everyone who watched this far, and I super appreciate those of you who are channel members for your patronage. I guess that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.